So, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining this session. Here we are to discuss things on Microsoft 365 Enterprise Mobility and Security. So, let's start. So, guys, when we are here talking about Microsoft 365, the Enterprise Mobility Security suite, we are actually going to talk something about the modern workplace. Reason the name, as it says, Enterprise Mobility and Security, it's all about how seamlessly we are digitizing our environment, or how seamlessly we are making our infrastructure mobile for the users to access on any kind of a device. See, while I talk about why M365 or what M365 actually delivers, we need to understand that the security landscape today has changed completely. So when I say the security landscape has changed, what I mean over here is earlier we used to build the securities at probably multiple such layers which we didn't even realize whether were in use or not. Over a period of time, things have been categorized, and they have been put under different verticals, and then finally we now have three different layers at which we would be managing the security fundamentals. So probably I might want to implement the security at the identity level to identify who is the user. So when I say identity, I'm talking about who. I'm talking about where, meaning on what kind of a device, whether it's a permitted device or whether it is a device which is not going to be allowed in my environment. And the last question is what. So when I say what, I'm actually talking about the applications and the data that the user is going to try and access. So typically, if we talk about the security aspect broadly, we are talking about identity, we are talking about the devices, as well as we are talking about the applications and the data. When all of these three concepts come together, we are actually transitioning our environment to the mobility suite, exposing our devices to the newer and more vulnerable attacks. And lastly, we cannot deny the fact that after I go completely to the cloud, after I go completely mobile, my current infrastructure is not going to be enough to serve the satisfactory security protocols. Hence, we are talking about Microsoft 365, which is going to come as a layer over the resources or the corporate data that you will be giving the access of to the users. Microsoft Enterprise Mobility and Security is actually driven by four different components. That is identity and access management. You have users and behavioral analytics. You will have different types of device management. You will have information protection. And lastly, to monitor all of them together, you have the cloud application security platform, which is going to give you the thorough insight of what is exactly happening in your cloud environment. What EMS is basically. So EMS, the Enterprise Mobility and Security, we can say Microsoft has now broken down to many other granular licenses. When I say granular licenses, I'm talking about Office 365 now being moved completely to M365, and you having a couple of features in the business variant and a couple of features even in the business premium variant and the standard variant, etc. But the entire EMS suite is precisely available in two verticals, two major verticals. One is the EMS E3 and another one is the EMS E5. When I say the entire suite, it is actually the most effective and I would say the suite which ranks amongst the top three security solutions in the cloud, which are being adapted by the enterprises worldwide. We have more than 59,000 plus enterprise organizations who are today managing more than 3,700 applications using the Microsoft 365 suite. And as I mentioned, it covers a lot of aspects like your identity and access management. It covers information protection. It covers threat management and defense, unified endpoint management for mobile devices. That's Androids and iOS and Mac OS and iPad OS and your Windows for mobile. You have your cloud application security to give you the insights. And lastly, you have the mobile device management solution as well. So if I talk about EMS suite on the whole, it's going to comprise of a hell lot of products, and it depends on what you are actually willing to procure for your environment. When I say to procure for your environment, here I'm actually wanting you to figure out as to what exactly is the challenge for your IT infrastructure. So when I say the challenge for your IT infrastructure today, the more we digitize the environment, the more is the productivity challenge in my organization, because my users are going to expect some really familiar applications from any and every type of a device and collaborate with the coworkers seamlessly, like sharing data and sharing information and exchanging data and resources on SharePoint and OneDrive and whatnot. At the same time, for any organization, it is always going to be a challenge to keep up to the security of the data and the resources, to protect your organizations against all sorts of vulnerability and compliance breaches, and at the same time have a complete insight from one single management point of control to whatever is happening inside your cloud environment. Now, when I want to bring these user expectations to my users and overcome all the corporate challenges that I might face, is when I actually come to the Microsoft 365 suite altogether. So Microsoft 365 suite is going to simplify your environment to such an extent that you implement every single aspect that you want to in terms of security, every single aspect in terms of compliance, in terms of threat management and threat protection, deploy applications, control apps and data, control files. And to do all of this, what the end user will have to do is simply sign in with a single username and password. So, practically speaking, you are putting the entire portfolio of your services and applications and data to the end user's device with his level of liberty across his preferred device. And the user can get an access to all of these using just one single username and the password for the same. The reason why we are talking about all of this is, in today's date, you have nearly 72% of your workforce using mobile devices, and it is also predicted that this might increase even more considering the situation that we have right now. Like, I can say COVID-19 situation that has come up has been a big boon for IT, because every small to large organization has been enabling their users to work remotely. So the mobile device enablement in the IT infrastructures today is the most in thing that any organization is looking for or adapting to. But at the same time, you have like a massive number of data breaches, vulnerability attacks from which you have to protect your environment, wherein most of it will be occurring on your shadow IT services, means on those which are cloud facing, which are being enabled to provide your end users the relevant component. So while we talk about all of these, in today's date, we are actually facing some really big number of challenges when it comes to moving to the cloud. You have 300% increase in the user account attacks every year. You have more and more number of polymorphic and automated malwares that are being deployed on the network, and you have huge financial losses that an organization can incur. When you want to overcome all of this is when we talk about the Microsoft 365 suite, because it actually brings to the device the application suite, the Windows operating system, and at the end, a complete security and control over the operating system plus the applications and the entire suite on the whole. So let's say, for example, we would want to consider that you have like different scenarios where you want to apply the Microsoft 365 suite. Maybe you want to first just implement protection for your data on files, apps, and devices. In that case, you might need some products from the EMS suite. You might need your Windows 10 Defender Threat Protection, your Office applications, and the Professional Plus license. For example, you want to just protect your environment against external threats. In that case, you can need the same components from the enterprise mobility suite. You'll need the same Windows 10 with the Defender, and at the same time, you will need the same Microsoft Office applications, but with client services for Exchange connected with it. Because in this case, you will definitely be deploying your mailing solutions, which you need to protect in order to make sure that none of your mails are being leaked or none of your data or sensitive data is being sent anywhere. Let's say you wish to protect your user accounts and the data of those user accounts. In that case, you just need the EMS suite. You just need your Windows 10, no Defender required. And at the same time, your Office applications. Assume you want to implement the entire suite, the full-fledged suite of Microsoft 365. In that case, you implement your Azure Active Directory with Intune, which is going to be used for mobile device management on the whole, so nothing specific to be done over here. Your Windows Defender will be taken care of by Intune, hence over here you will only need the Windows 10 license. And lastly, you'll need all the mobile Office applications which you want to give to the end user. What I mean over here is you have different scenarios where you want to implement the 365 suite, and you have a different model which you would want to use for every different scenario, making the solution the most cost effective and the most suitable for your environment. So in today's environment, if I talk about the digital transformation that is happening, is if I talk about the native Microsoft Intune, we used to do all sorts of management only and only using my Active Directory and SCCM, wherein I used to deploy my apps, deploy policies, and Intune for conditional access. But now I have the same setup, pretty much the same one, but the policies have moved from Active Directory to my Intune based component, which are much more advanced, much more simplified, and much more easy and robust to be deployed for managing the users who are even not sitting inside my organization. Managed email and security. What we mean over here is that Intune is going to help you to set up the entire infrastructure in such a way you will implement security at 4 different layers. The first layer would be the identity, who and whom, who is sending the email and to whom is the email being sent. Number 2, the device. On what device are you trying to access this data? Is it a corporate compliant device or is it a bring your own device platform? In which application are you trying to access this data? Maybe I don't want to allow you to access your mails on the native email apps of every operating system. I compulsory want you to access it only using Outlook. And lastly, what is the data that you're trying to access? So probably it can be the file which is going to be encrypted, which is going to have a lot of security put in place in order to make sure that it is only accessible on the devices which are a part of your organization's compliance. So while I actually wish to set all of these up, I need to have components like conditional access configured, which will do a policy-based verification for every device. If the policy does not match, the device will never be granted an access. But let's say, for example, if the policy matches, in that case, all security policies will be pushed and updated on that device, and then the user will be granted an access to the resource that he's trying to hit. This again comes as a part of your enterprise mobility suite, nothing to be procured separately when we are talking about conditional access. Conditional access allows you to do mobile application management in the most seamless manner that you want to. So let's say, for example, on a device which has been brought in my environment by the user, Mobile application management will categorize the personal apps versus the corporate apps on that device. The personal apps will be kept separate and the corporate apps will be managed separately. So for an instance, if I'm sending you an email which has an Excel sheet as an attachment, you copy that Excel sheet and try to paste it on your personal application, it's going to deny, saying that your IT policy blocks you from doing so. So you try to be smart, you open the Excel sheet, you copy some content and paste it in the Word file and try to paste the Word file. You try to save that Word file on a personal OneDrive. It's going to block you again. The only way to save this is going to be in the corporate OneDrive, making sure that your user is not saving any data on his personal device and is going to save each and every single thing only on the corporate managed applications. So mobile application management, I should say, is going to make your device intelligent enough to categorize the corporate data and the personal data both at the same time on one single application on the same device. It is going to have identity driven security, wherein you will have AI and machine learning solutions running in the backend on the Azure and Office 365 or M365 platform, which is going to continuously scan the users, the device, and the types of data that are being accessed. Junaid, am I audible? I think there was some disruption.
Hi Ronak, yes, you're audible.
Okay, I think I was here, right?
Yes,
Okay, so as I mentioned that you probably tried to save the data to your device or to Google Drive, which was not permitted. So you tried copy data and you tried pasting the data in the notes application of your device. And that's the output that you will get, saying you cannot paste your data in a personal application. So this is the kind of security that you have, which can be implemented to encrypt all the content which belongs to the corporate on any kind of a device, may that be a corporate owned device or may that be a personal device. Microsoft introduced something called as Windows Hello for Business to unify the experience of the users across any type of a device that you are accessing today. Like most of us today, when we are accessing an Android or an iOS device, we have biometrics, we have modern authentication methods that we use. When I say we use modern authentication methods, what I mean over here is we are actually either logging in using my fingerprint or my iris scanner, touch ID, face ID, whatever you call it, or maybe using a 4-digit pin code, or maybe, however, using a 6-digit pin code or something of that sort. All of this has been bundled up together to be served on the Windows operating system platform under something called as Windows Hello for Business. Windows Hello for Business allows you to set up exactly the same methods of authentication on Windows devices the way you use them on any other mobile device. A really high level advanced threat protection service component, which is being offered by Microsoft again over here as a part of the suite. Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection, guys, to your surprise, stands again in the top 3 security solutions or security suites that you can implement to protect your Windows operating system while accessing it over the cloud. It not only has threat protection, it also has a lot of other features which are included as a part of the entire Defender suite, which are managing and maintaining your device from any kind of a USB or any kind of a portable external device that is being connected. It has got all sorts of threat and vulnerability management components. It is backed by Microsoft AI and machine learning platform and Azure Sentinel in the backend to make sure that your Windows 10 devices are secured in the best possible manner that they have to be. While we talk about strategizing our environment towards the cloud, the biggest question that we all might have is What will happen to my Windows updates and patching cycles that today are being managed using my WSUS or using SCCM? So the question over here is, if I say that I have a cloud model for these operating systems, then how is my how is my update or patch management cycle being taken care of? We don't need to bother much about it because Microsoft has automated this process as well for all the customers who are moving towards the cloud. So the moment you decide of moving towards the cloud, what happens is these updates will be directly managed by Microsoft in the backend. You just have to define the schedule. When do you want these updates to be pushed? When do you want these updates to be deployed on the device? A particular time, a particular hour during the day, whether you want it to have a forced restart or not, etc. These are the only things that remain as a part of your control on the update cycles. So update and patch management on the device, or may you ask it on the application, it is all going to be taken care of by the Microsoft backend updation system itself. You have some really good management for the devices that are being a part of your organization, which is again offered by Intune Device Retire and Wipe services. Any device, any user who is leaving the organization or is no more going to continue working the way the user is working right now, you can either retire or wipe the complete device from the environment. When you retire it, the device still remains eligible to be used by any other user in your organization. And when you say wipe, in that case, you will be completely wiping off the data on that particular device. Now, when I say wipe, doesn't really mean that you are going to wipe the end user's personal data as well. We're talking about the corporate data. However, however, if at all the device is 100% corporate managed device, you can even wipe out complete data on that device. So as I say, the Microsoft 365 security and threat protection suite stands amongst the top 3 security solutions over the cloud that are available in the market. What is the reason, or what is the proof that is backing this statement? The proof is that the 365 suite implements security at 3 different layers. The first one is the Office 365 layer, which is going to be for the applications, for the data. Then you have the Windows Defender ATP component that is going to manage all your endpoints and the devices that are a part of your environment. And lastly, for your infrastructure and for your servers, what you have is your Azure Advanced Threat Protection component. So when you say ATP, ATP doesn't just remain limited to Office 365 ATP or maybe just an Advanced Threat Protection component. It has got 3 different uh, categories of deployments that are available. That is Office 365 ATP plus Windows Defender ATP plus Azure ATP. You also have something called as Azure Information Protection, as I said, which will help you to systematically classify all the data that is there on your devices. It will help you to categorize all the information that is there on your devices. And at the same time, it will let you have an insight of where those files are being saved, what is the level of encryption, what is the accessibility rights that you have over that file, etc. And while you would want to classify these particular files using Azure Information Protection, you will do a labeling at multiple different layers or using multiple different methods. It can either be automatic, it can either be a recommendation pop up to the end user, it can be manual, that is, you define what kind of a label you want to have, or it can either be user specified classification, wherein he just gets a list of the labels and sees the description for every label and then decides which label he wants to implement on that file or document. You also have something called as cloud application security. Personally, this is my favorite one. Cloud application security gives you a complete insight of the entire Office 360 M365 Microsoft 365 suite. So, may you talk about device management, application management, identity management, security management, threat analytics, log analytics, monitoring, Azure information protection to encrypt the data, labeling, conditional access, Intune. Every single aspect will directly be connected to cloud application security to give you the complete insight of the entire environment. When I use the word complete insight, I'm talking over here about you getting to see the actual public IP address of the user. You can see the service provider. You can see from which device, from which browser or which application, and which version of that browser or application the user has tried to access your file and data. It gives you information about every single file that is being shared within or outside the organization. And at the same time, it also gives you behavior history. It gives you the travel history of every single user who is a part of your organization. So you will be able to see where and what all data the user has been accessing all through the time the user is in your organization. And the best part of this is not just limited to the Microsoft 365 suite. You can collaborate your G Suite, you can collaborate Salesforce Cloud, you can collaborate AWS Cloud, you can collaborate Dropbox storage and whatnot, including your on-premise applications. You can collaborate your Palo Alto devices, your Cisco devices, your Red Hat monitoring solutions with the cloud application security to make it the best possible SIM solution of your environment. So, cloud application security gives you a complete insight. May that be in terms of security, may that be in terms of compliance, may that be in terms of monitoring, may that be in terms of behavior, or may that be in terms of threat to your organization. Microsoft 365 suite offers you cloud application security at two different layers. One is the cloud application security discovery, which is offered as a part of your Office 365 suite. And the other one is the Microsoft Cloud Application Security Management, which is a part of the premium product E3 and E5. What exactly is the difference? The difference is massive. Your MCAS is actually going to cover more than 15,000 plus applications and give you the complete flexibility to define and implement policy based control on your entire environment. Whereas the Office 365 one is merely having an accessibility to 750 plus applications, and you can just view what it shows you and not customize anything with regards to the policies or whatever you might want to do. So no customization in Office 365. It's only available in the MCAS. So consolidating the entire suite on the whole, you have the identity vertical, you have the device vertical, you have the application and the data vertical. When all the three of these are brought together and implemented with security, compliance, monitoring, management, threat, analytics, and insights, it gives you the best possible spectrum of managing your entire organization or your entire endpoint infrastructure from under one single umbrella. And while we are doing all of these, we cannot deny the fact that all of this can be done from one single portal, from one single API of management. I don't need to have multiple different portals or multiple third party vendors or any kind of a collaboration. It's one single suite serving it all to you. So that's it from my side, guys. My name is Ronak. I hope you guys had a good time understanding these aspects. Let us have a quick question and answer if you guys wish to have any queries resolved. Else, we are good to wind the session. I think we are done from our side. I think just one more question. Okay, we are done from our side. We have addressed the questions that the participants had, and
Great.
we are good to wind up.
Great. Thank you so much, Ronak, for such an insightful session. And guys, if there are any questions, you can reach out to me. Yeah. And I will connect you to Ronak. Yeah. Thank you, Ronak. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.